Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our Refugee Rights Day preparation webinar. My name is Kaylee Perez and I'm the Refugee Sponsorship and Settlement Associate here at MCC Ontario, and I'll be the moderator for today's 30-minute interactive live stream. So first, I'd like to invite you to chat with us throughout this webinar. If you take a look to the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a live chat box. I'm just about to type in and say, "Hey, welcome. Let me know who's here." So send us your name, your location. We'd love to see who's tuning in and say hello. As well, feel free to send us any questions you may have as they arise throughout today's presentation. We'll do our best to address them live, and if not, we'll follow up with you directly afterwards. If you are a sponsorship group who has sponsored through MCC and are not sure whether or not the family you are supporting has a loan to repay, please email refugee@mcco.ca and we will get back to you as soon as possible with a question specific to your case. So in terms of tweeting and posting on social media, we want you to wait until April 4th. At the end of this presentation, I'll outline a very clear call to action and invite you to use 2 specific hashtags in your posts on April 4th, which is our National Refugee Rights Day. So the goal of today is to inform you about this loan and the long-term impact it has on the successful settlement of refugees in Canada, and to share resources that will prepare you to advocate with us against the burden of these loans on Refugee Rights Day, which again is coming up on April 4th. And for you to partner with us in advocating about this even beyond April 4th. So you'll hear 3 perspectives about the reality of this loan. First, from MCC's Refugee Resettlement Program Coordinator, Moses Moini, followed by Member of Parliament, Marwan Tabara, and then from a newcomer family themselves who has been willing to share their story with us today. So I'll begin now by briefly introducing you to MCC and our work with refugees, and then I'll pass it on to Moses, our program coordinator. So MCC, Mennonite Central Committee, is a 95-year-old non-for-profit organization, and we do relief, development, and peace work in 65 different countries around the world in a variety of projects, one of which is the Refugee Resettlement Program. Migration and resettlement is a key theme in our work across MCC, and it particularly impacts our resettlement program as we are responding to the dramatic numbers of displaced people around the world. So the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees states that we are now witnessing the highest levels of displacement on record. I think there is, oh, here we go. Just wanting to make sure you're seeing the right slide. So, yep, there we go. So approximately 65.3 million individuals are forcibly displaced worldwide as a result of persecution, conflict, generalized violence, or human rights violations. This next picture here gives you a picture of the 3 categories of which the 65.3 million individuals are composed of. And so of these 21.3 million refugees, over half are under the age of 18. And so in a world where nearly 34,000 people are forcibly displaced every day as a result of conflict or persecution, our work to address root causes of forced migration while also doing everything we can through refugee resettlement is more important now than it ever has been before. And so MCC specifically is at work overseas in host regions such as Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Iraq, and works in Canada, which is the focus for today, as a sponsorship agreement holder. And MCC was actually instrumental in the creation of the Private Sponsorship of Refugees program and was the first signatory in 1979. So these past 18 months have truly been incredible and beyond what words can describe. We, MCC Ontario, have specifically gone from working with an average of 8 sponsorship groups on any given year to now working with 240 across the province. We worked to sponsor between 40 to 60 refugees on any given year and have now welcomed just over 900 individuals, with more arriving every week. And so it's been an incredible time to be working here in this work and to be a sponsorship agreement holder in Canada. So at this point, that gives you a bit of context for our work, and I'll now pass it on to my colleague Moses, our program coordinator, to explain what Refugee Rights Day is about and why we have chosen to focus on the travel loans this year. So we're just going to switch over to get Moses in via Skype. And in the meantime, hey, Aaron from the Amal Group in London. So glad you're tuning in with us. Hello, Rose from North Bay. Also, you're watching from St. Bryce's Parish, and you've sponsored a family. So glad you're here. We're ready for Moses?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Hey, Moses.
Hi, Kaylee. Thank you, Kaylee, and to everyone who has joined us on this webinar on Refugee Rights Day. April 4th, 1985 was a milestone for refugee rights in Canada. On that day, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled that the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom protects the rights of refugee claimants in Canada to life, liberty, and security of the person, and that claimants are therefore entitled to an oral hearing in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice and international law. This ruling has become to be known as the Singh decision. Our focus in Ontario for 2017 Refugee Rights Day is to end the burden of refugee transportation loan for the refugees who are resettled here, and this includes the cost of medical exams that they undergo overseas and the travel expenses to come to Canada. Over to you, Kaylee.
All right. So at this point, I'm going to introduce our Member of Parliament for Kitchener South Espler, Marwan Tabara. He is also a member of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration, and he's just going to share some information about this loan from the government's perspective. So we're just going to load that video.
Yeah, it'll take a second.
It'll take just a few seconds here. Again, feel free to send us any questions at any point. If you're newly joining, feel free to chat with me in the live chat box. Let me know your name and where you're tuning in from. Would love to say hello. Glad you're here with us.
Okay, we should be ready in just a second. I'm just queuing.
All right. And if you're hearing that voice in the background, that's our IT specialist, Carl. We're so glad to have him here with us.
I'm Marwan Tabara, Member of Parliament for Kitchener South.
All right.
I'm just going to make sure that's showing on the screen.
Okay.
Of up to 24 additional months. At any time, people facing hardship can request a review of their payment arrangement so as not to create further undue burdens. Individuals have access to a toll-free number to discuss any matters regarding the repayment of their loan. Syrian refugees who were resettled to Canada between November 4th, 2015 and March 1st, 2016, or had their interview completed before March 1st, 2016, had their transportation to Canada paid for by the Government of Canada. That included both government-supported and privately sponsored refugees, so no loans were required. Government-supported Syrian refugees resettled as a part of the Syrian Settlement Initiative continued to have their travel costs paid for by the Government of Canada in 2016. This was a special measure put in place for the Syrian Resettlement Program. During our committee's study of the government's refugee program, we heard evidence about the financial strain that loans represent for families. We realized that loan repayment is a hardship for some, but not for all. Historically, the majority of refugees have done well, and the vast majority of loan recipients pay back their loans. 68% of the loans are repaid within the loan period, and approximately 91% of all loans are repaid over time. The Department of Immigration, Citizenship and Refugee Canada is currently looking into possible reforms to the immigration loans program. IRCC is looking at options to make the program less of a burden for all refugees going forward. Obviously, there are benefits and costs to such options that need to be weighed when considering changes to the current program. We have a robust, compassionate, and generous refugee system in place, and we have been recognized globally as a leader in refugee resettlement. We begin with reinstating the refugee health care program that was cut in 2012, and with an incredible generosity of Canadians, we have resettled an unprecedented number of more than 40,000 Syrian refugees since November 2015, and will continue to deliver on our commitment to the world's most vulnerable. Our government plans to resettle 25,000 refugees from abroad in 2017 and welcome more asylum seekers. Canada has a proud history of providing a refuge to people from around the world fleeing war, terror, and persecution. We are an integral and important part of our country's ongoing efforts to welcome more people into our Canadian family. Thank you again for everything that you do.
Over to you, Moses.
Thank you, Kaylee. We are very thankful to the Government of Canada for creating the Admissibility and Transportation Loan Program for refugees. Most refugees flee persecution, civil unrest from their homelands with almost nothing. If the loan program were not in place, it would be difficult for most of those refugees to afford the cost of medical services as well as their transportation loan. The loan is a burden, and it impacts on the settlement and integration of refugees. Though 68% of the refugees pay back their loan within the required time as reported, it is also important to note that the 2015 federal government report on loan repayment found that 76% of the government-assisted refugees and 32% of the privately sponsored refugees used their income support to pay back the loan. In addition, most of the loan recipients found it difficult to access settlement services, including language classes, because they needed to find employment in order to pay back their loan. We hear from our constituent groups and newcomers that the loans are a burden, and we are concerned about its impact on them. Due to the lingering effect of the debt on the recipients, some of our constituent groups have been compelled to step in and assist the families with the loan repayment. The loan repayments should be adjusted to ensure that the loan program is aligned with resettlement, settlement, and integration policy objectives. This needs to be communicated clearly to the recipients to ensure that they understand, and that in effect will ease the burden of the transportation loan on them. The Just Pass family was sponsored to Canada by the Evangelical Asian Church in Etobicoke. They arrived in Canada in November of 2016 with a debt. Listen to their story and hear how the loan is impacting on their settlement and integration in Canada.
Oh, he's still speaking, I think. Yes, we are just transitioning to the video now. I see Connie Elkin is joining us. They're a group who has not yet been matched but is hoping to soon. Yes, Connie, we are also hoping that you get matched very soon. Hello to Linda and Fred from North Leamington. We're so glad you're here. And we are ready to show the video from the Jasper family now.
Hi, this is Jasper Arthur. This is my family, Sania, Sarah, Daud, and Sabrina. And this is my wife, Lubna.
Hi. After fleeing our homeland of Pakistan, due to the persecution, we were resettled to Canada. We are thankful that we now live in peace and can worship in freedom in this lovely country. In the process of our resettlement, we incurred a debt of $8,600 that we owe to the Canadian government for our medical exam overseas and for the airfare to Canada. Each month, we are required to pay $119. My husband and I are working hard to support our family. Due to the loan, we have not been able to pay for kids' programs that would be beneficial for our children's growth. Our children need dental care. I wish if we can divert the loan towards their dental care. I used to be a teacher back home. To be a teacher in Canada, I need to upgrade myself and I have to do some few courses. So these courses are too expensive here. Due to this loan, I need to delay my studies for next years. As newcomers, we have settlement and integration challenges that we could navigate less easily if it were not for the burden of the medical and transportation loan. Thank you, and God bless Canada.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you. A great big thank you to the Jasper family for being willing to share a part of your story with us and to describe the burden that the loan has been for your family. So this almost brings our webinar to conclusion. You've learned a little bit about the history of Refugee Rights Day, why we've chosen to focus on the travel loans for our advocacy piece this year. And what you see before you there is our call to action. So these are some clear steps that we would like to invite you to partner with us in. First, by visiting the Canadian Council for Refugees website, the web URL is there. Even if you just type in CCR Web Transportation Loans, it will take you to that. And there they provide a letter template that you can use to write directly to the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration. As well, a template letter is provided there for you to take with you to meet with your local MP and to provide him with that letter, along with the story of how this loan has impacted the settlement of a family that you are currently involved with or know of. And then, of course, through social media, we're encouraging you on April 4th, Refugee Rights Day, to post. Use the hashtags listed there and share with us how the loan is affecting the family and any plans that you have to mitigate in this way. So thank you for tuning in, for listening to us. Hello to everyone who has joined and has watched. We will be posting this at a later date as well. So please feel free to share this video to help educate others in your circle who are connected to refugees or to the general public who needs to learn the reality of the burden that these loans provide to families. So thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your evening, and we hope to talk soon. Bye-bye.